Welcome, friends, to Passport to Lent, week 3, Jesus' 12 disciples. If you look down at the bottom of your packet, you will see a picture of Jesus and his 12 disciples from a movie. You know, we don't know what exactly Jesus looked like. We don't know what any of his disciples looked like. We can just kind of guess by knowing what people sort of looked like back then in that area. If you turn in your packet, you'll see that you've got the 12 disciples. Jesus had 12 friends who walked around with him for 3 years. For 3 years, these friends followed Jesus. And again, we don't know if any of them looked at all like any of these guys. Probably not, since they're cartoons. But you can see what some of the things that they wore. And you can see that they all have the kind of shoes that we talked about, the sandals. For your activity this week, what I would love for you to do is to cut out the disciples. And I think the elementary, you guys can cut them out individually and have 12 of them. I've put them on a big lollipop stick, but you can put it on, you could put them on a pencil. All you have to do is just tape the back. And then I'd love if you would use your creativity to make some scenes with Jesus and his disciples. Like, where did they go? What did they do? So take them and maybe you put them all on your couch, but make some sort of scene with Jesus and his friends. What are your friends like? Are they all very different, or do they all look pretty similar? Do they like the same things that you do? We don't know with the disciples. We don't know what they all did, but we know that they were all adults. So they all had jobs. And for 3 years, they gave up their jobs to follow Jesus. And we know of 2 different jobs that some of them did. We know that one person was a tax collector, and we know that a number of them were fishermen. Let's look to see what other jobs there are in Jesus' time. If you look in your packet, you'll see a whole page called Workers in Bible Times. And you can see some of the things that people did. They didn't have factories back then. So everything was done at people's homes. People would be potters and they would sell their pottery. And if you look down here, you can see a big jug and bowls and plates. So much of what most common people used was pottery. But pottery breaks pretty easily. Have you ever broken a plate or a bowl? So they had to replace them a lot. You know, another thing that people did was they made leather. They would take animal skins, like sheep skins and goat skins, and they would take off all of the fat that was on there and the fur that was on there, and they'd make different things. They would make sandals, or sometimes they even made scrolls. And next week we're going to talk about those kinds of scrolls. Jesus was a carpenter. There wasn't a ton of wood where Jesus was, but they still needed some things made out of wood. And you can see his tools there, the axe and the mantle and the plane and the saw. They would make things like maybe a table or 2, and the doors, and then wheels. A lot of the wheels were made of wood, and anytime that they needed to be fixed, Jesus would fix wheels too. They also had yokes, and those were long pieces of wood that would go over top 2 different kinds of cows so they could walk together and plow the fields. Another thing is that there were weavers. Now, every family had their own, this is called a loom. Every family had one, but some people, they made extra to sell. It took a long time to make a piece of cloth. If you can see, there are these strings that all go down this way, and they're held at the bottom with little weights. And then they put pieces of string up between them, and they weave them in and out. So we're talking thousands of strings that they would place one by one in the loom. You know, if you take out your pillowcase from your kit, and if you look at it really closely, you can kind of see that there are lines in it. These are little tiny strings that are all woven together. But these aren't made by hand. They're made really quickly by a machine. It could take months to make a piece of clothing. And as I said, many people were fishermen who were part of Jesus's group. And here's a picture in your packet of what it would have looked like to be a fisherman. I don't know about you, but when I've gone fishing before, I use a long rod, and it has a string on it, and I throw it out and reel it in one fish at a time, if I'm lucky to even get a fish. They, if you look down here, had nets that they wove, and they would throw those nets out and then pull it in with lots of fish. If you look, it looks like it's pretty hard work. Down below, you can see an actual boat from Jesus' time. They found it in the Sea of Galilee. So it's pretty amazing that we know so much about Jesus' time and Jesus' 12 disciples. You know, I challenge you to go into your Bible. Maybe it's a picture Bible, or maybe it's a student Bible, and look to see if there are any pictures of a boat or of fish back then, or even a net. Or maybe look online and say, Ancient Israel fishing, and you can see what the disciples did. It's pretty amazing that after doing all of their work, that they were able to leave it and walk with God and learn from God through Jesus. So I hope that we remember too that no matter what we're doing, maybe you're a student, or maybe you're a dancer, or maybe you're both, or maybe you're a skier or a soccer player, that in all of that fun stuff that we do and all the work that we do, we want to remember to take time and remember Jesus and to learn about him. Just like his disciples took time to learn and to support him. I can't wait to see you next week. We're going to sing our song. Shalom charavim, shalom charavim, shalom, shalom. Lachit reot, shalom, shalom. Bye, friends.